Hi, I'm Toby Vernon, a partner with Simpatico Studios and host of the Food and Agriculture channel. Simpatico Studios is a where we host live stream conversations about complex business and social challenges with professionals like you who are working on the same issues. Our shows are live streamed in front of a global audience, and I'm hosting Simpatico's Food and Agriculture channel, where we're growing a community of farmers, researchers, agricultural businesses, policymakers, scientists, and technology leaders that are addressing food and ag's most vexing problems, one innovative solution at a time. And today we're joined by Erik Vibenholt. Brian's founder and principal of Vibenholt Consultancy, environmental quality strategy and management firm based in Al Fahil, Kuwait. Brian has more than 25 years of experience consulting and lecturing with governments and private industry on issues of environmental impacts, engineering, and sustainability. Brian's authored booklets on numerous engineering and process approaches, including 8D, FMEA, valuation auditing, SPC, and continuous improvement. Brian, it's a real pleasure to have you here today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. So I'm so grateful for you coming on today. Before we get too far into the discussion of solid waste and climate positive solutions to waste management, I wonder if you could just give us a little background on yourself and tell me what you do at Vibenholt Consultancy.
Well, what I do and what Vibenholt Consultancy is set into the world to do is try to guide and consult and try to, for small and middle-sized enterprises, to get them up running and show them possibilities for different kind of areas, especially for the environment improvement, showing them the possibilities of where the basically blue ocean is, where the possibilities are to actually make a business out of something that is relevant for the environment here in the GDC. And yeah, most of the customers and clients are in Kuwait, but I also encourage them basically to look around in the GDC. Kuwaitis are allowed just basically like the European Union or inside the US to move around as they feel fit, and they can establish companies in the other countries as well. And for the waste management, well, it's a huge market. But there is some of the markets where it is more relevant, where the need are to take action are bigger than others. And this is where I then kind of saying, we need to, or you have a bigger market if you go to Bahrain, if you go to Qatar. So this is some of those areas that I try to cover. But beside that, as a consultant, you take what comes to you, and I do a lot of compliance work and a lot of writing manuals, ISO standards, manuals for health and safety, for environment, and other energy auditing, and so on. Basically, I see, because that is important for me, that the environment problem we have is holistic. It is extremely complex, and I'm sure that we will get back to that later on in this session here. But we really need to address the complexity, that it all goes back together.
Yeah, and so I know that you're working primarily within waste management consultancy, and providing insights and practices and measurement
Yeah.
tools for
Yes.
governments and institutions, just to sort of understand what the problem is
Yeah.
and really be able to convey that. So give us a sense here. I think that when we speak about climate change, a lot of folks jump immediately to thinking about greenhouse gases. The problem coming primarily from fossil fuel combustion, and certainly fossil fuel combustion is a huge problem. But I think that one of these hidden sources is solid and organic waste that we produce every day. So can you kind of give us a sense of what the scale of that problem is right now in the Middle East and North Africa?
It is quite big. It's huge. When you take the GDC countries as such, and you take out Yemen, we are basically the 6 countries here. We are in top 10 around the world of just food waste.
Can you repeat that? Give us that one more time.
We are with six countries here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, Saudi, Emirates, and those countries are in top 10 of the world in terms of food waste per capita.
That's serious.
Yeah, that's really, really a big burden, and that opens up for business. That really opens up for business for doing some treatment of organic waste. Mm-hmm. If you don't, that is where some of the things that we have to understand. If you don't, the decomposition will happen. It will eventually disappear. Paper within a week, the food within a couple of days, a piece of wood will be a year. And that will turn into gases. That will turn into the CO2. That will turn into the methane gases.
Right.
So that alone will actually give you a sense of climate change, just throwing the garbage on the landfill.
Sure. And can you give us a sense of the downstream effects? Sort of, can you help us quantify and understand sort of the scope of this issue and sort of some examples of maybe the environmental effects of this scale?
I made some survey and because what I want to try to see to identify the possibilities, I also calculated how big pressure the nation have of the waste. In that sense, that I took the area of each country and looked how much waste are they actually generating, mm-hmm. and then try to divide it into the size of the country. And a small island country as Bahrain is something about 40 islands, small islands, bigger islands. So they don't have anywhere to actually put the waste. They don't have any place for landfill.
There's no on island sort of municipal waste management apparatus.
No. So basically they only have one landfill where they try to bury it all.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
And burial is that happening on island, or are they shipping that waste, organic matter and solid waste off the island?
It's on the main island. Okay. It's on from Manama and then you have the Formula One circuit, mm-hmm. and on the other side of that is a landfill.
Yeah.
And that have some limitations, believe me, because you cannot expand it. It's going straight to the water.
Right.
And the next one is Qatar, which is a peninsula to Saudi Arabia. So that is also a limit area. if you then look into how much waste they're producing,
Yeah.
we are talking 1.8 kilo per person per day.
That's a huge amount of waste per day. And are you saying that's just organic waste, or is that the entire waste burden?
That is, yeah.
Wow.
It's organic waste. And when you then add to all the other things that goes to the landfill, you really have a magnitude of problem. And this is the reason we are doing it. This is the reason we must interact. We must do something. Otherwise, even in the good country of Kuwait, 95% of the land is contaminated by either oil contamination or landfill contamination. So you don't have that much more to expand for residential area.
That leaves a small amount of land. So is there, talk to me a moment about sort of the governance approach or any policy approaches towards managing organic waste and some hurdles there.
We have basically the entire spectrum. If we just look at the GDC, I'll try to look into the MENA region as a large, but that complicates a lot because the North African countries are so much different in terms of income, as well as the size of the land. But if you just look into the GDC, it is mainly the municipality who is responsible for this, but in the most of them, it's contracted and subcontracted. So that means that that's a fair deal if we have the legislation and enforcement to supervise it, to monitor it, to make sure that they do the right thing. And that is like full in all countries except for the Emirates and Qatar, that they are really trying to be environment friendly.
So
they try.
So it sounds like you're saying that there's, even if you could attain a sort of regionally unified approach to governance, it's not actually even really desirable, since there's so much variation in demographic income and capacity within the region. Is that right?
I've been voiced a number of occasions where I kind of saying we really need to have a unified government for what we need to do. That means that we need to have the countries work together on this. And basically that makes sense because we are basically all sharing the Gulf. And if we don't do anything, it will end up in the Gulf. And that is one of the big concerns of when we talk about climate change, and we then talk about the emission of toxic materials or other materials through the groundwater or the rain drainage out to the sea. Remember, 50% of the oxygen that we have in the world is actually produced by the phytoplankton, right? So killing that will basically be the same as your burning off the rainforest.
Right, and when you're talking about a context where, you said 1.8 kilos of waste per day per person is being generated and concentrated right there on an island. The downstream effects obviously are they're immediate and they're extreme. Can you share some ideas or maybe some case studies of better management practices that you might
we
think would work in the region?
We have one of the things about it is that it's very difficult actually to get the voice of a culture which doesn't see the problem. They don't see the problem because for them it's only a question about they have enough, and it's okay to produce, to cook more food in the magnitude of the double of what you can eat, and then throw it away. They don't see that as a problem. They see that as a sign of wealth, a sign of we are doing good, and we have to show the neighbor that we are doing good. So that gives you a problem. Saying that, that will actually give you this understanding about why don't we have companies who see this as a good business? Well, because they basically don't think it's worthwhile doing. It is a good business, but composting waste, I don't know if you have your own composter out in the kitchen or in your backyard, but it takes a little time.
Yes. Takes a little hands-on work.
Yes, but what I have introduced here is that I've found a company in China who produce and sell combusting machines in microbes, using microbes, and it takes 24 hours, which was my goal to get there and to find them, because you have only 24 hours to process your food waste or any other organic waste. And that's simply because you're eating and you're throwing away food tomorrow as well. So you have to do it within.
The time is really just a matter of accumulating so much waste that you just can't bear to hold on to.
Yes.
You know, if you've got a family of 5, 30 pounds of food waste.
Yes, and this is one of those things where maybe I have a little advantage of the most here, because I come from the Six Sigma world where everything is quantified, everything is scaled up and scaled down. So it's really a question about scaling up your processes. It all started with organic food waste was actually using earthworms. Okay. And a worm of 1 gram can basically consume its own weight, but not the same day. But if you have 3 worms, you can easily have 2 grams of food eaten. If you have 1 million, you can consume 1 ton.
Right.
So it's a question about scaling, right?
It is. It's a question of scaling. But so I'm curious what your experience is. Does the government is there an apparatus for supporting the private sector?
No, and only in the Emirates you have a progressive insistment to actually let the private sector go in and earn money. Okay. They are also very, very strict to monitor it. They come way far behind if you measure from US standard or from European standard, but they are moving faster in the right direction than the most of the countries. We are at the moment negotiating for having plants. This is something that actually came up during the last 24 hours. That is that they are going to have a 5-ton food waste processing machine.
Okay.
Installed.
That's
Uh,
progress.
and that's progress. And you see, all of a sudden you have scale of 5 ton processed per day, a little bit like the Chinese models, where the city of Shenzhen is taking waste from 18 million people processed within 24 hours.
And so that's, I
That's
mean,
amazing.
yeah, that's scaling. And so just to put you on the spot here in the last couple minutes of our
Yes.
this section of our episode, I give me your elevator pitch to me as, you know, and the new Emirate of Kuwait. What do I need to do to address this tremendous waste management problem?
Well, if you're government, you need basically to make sure that you have a business environment where it's possible for people to make it as a business. That means that if you want to process tires, we have the biggest bank of used tires in the entire world, twice as much as the European
Wow,
Union,
it's a lot
in
of
the same
Formula One.
place. Yes. But on the other hand, if the west coast of US had the same amount of trees, it could burn very bad.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
but if somebody goes in and want to make that a business, they should be supported. They should be encouraged.
yeah,
They should be in initiative, and then make sure that the legislation also secure that it's done safe.
right. Yeah. So regulatory.
If
So you.
if you were a private sector, there's only one thing. It takes about 37, 38 days to establish a company for a Kuwaiti in Kuwait.
Okay.
In US, to compare, it takes about 4 to 5 days. But I'm encourage them to keep on doing it.
Yeah.
Do it because it's worthwhile doing.
So your number one recommendation is to cultivate a a regulatory climate where the private sector can establish itself and take case studies from places like Shenzhen, China, and apply
Yes.
them to the Middle East context and scale
Oh,
up the management
yes, and and
practices.
and, and see
Okay.
see what, because we do have some places where it works. In Oman, they basically have very little problem, and they do it locally. They have 130, 32 or 37 local landfill, local waste treatment centers.
Wow. Yeah. In one country.
Uh, yeah, and
Yeah.
and okay, it's a big area, but the benefit of it is that you should not actually use your transportation to transport uh, organic waste that can be handled in your kitchen,
Mm,
so to
mm,
speak. I know, but
yeah.
in Shenzhen, it's a community. We have in Kuwait about 89 food courts connected to malls. So a food court is from 5 to 20 restaurants
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
Kuwait. We are only 4.6 million people.
Yeah, well, I think that this conversation has been instructive to really demonstrate the scale of this
Yeah,
problem,
yeah,
and also it's been really helpful to sort of understand a couple of these main hurdles. Obviously, a cultural hurdle is not something that can be sort of met by governance or technology, but
no,
there are
no.
technological solutions there. And
I think we need to have three things: education, education, and education,
mm,
because the people need to understand it.
mm,
And when that is said, we need to have, because I'm very sure neither in US nor in Europe nor in the Middle East you will have a government who can go in and do what they do in China. go in and just
Right.
do organic waste treatment as a municipality duty.
Right.
Here, it must be private sector. It cannot, it will not be otherwise. So that means fine, take it, embrace it, and make it happen for the private sector.
Well, I think that's a great note to wrap up our this segment of our show on. Thank you for providing insights,
You're welcome.
giving us an understanding of the scale of this problem, and a look down the path ahead towards progress. If you'll just stay on with us for a moment, we'll move into the just chatting section, and
Yes.
I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you so much. I will be there.